Thank you. Esteemed members of the Tribunal, we're convened here in Paris in the company of national leaders from around the world who are meeting to talk about climate change, the gravest threat to ecosystems and species in our human history. After the compelling testimony this morning with regard to fracking and megadams, I spent some time reviewing the current draft of the convention that the UN released this morning. I looked for any discussion at all about the severe injuries that we heard about this morning, injuries that are both directly and indirectly driving climate change. What did I find? What I did find was much language that was quite vague about greenhouse gas emission reduction. What I did not find was any reference at all with regard to holding ourselves accountable to our responsibilities to the earth. I found no reference at all, for example, to enforcement. And in fact, the only mention of anything regarding something being legally binding was still in brackets. There's not one word in the convention that's out there today about dams, or water, or fossil fuels, or fracking, or even oil. The only paragraph that mentions the earth itself, the only one, is also the only paragraph that mentions the rights of indigenous peoples. That is the very same paragraph that we hear that nations are trying to take out of the convention right now. Even if that paragraph were left in, it's in the preamble and not in the main body of the convention. So ladies and gentlemen of the Tribunal, I put before you that the cases of fracking and megadams that we heard this morning represent ongoing and serious violations of the rights of Mother Earth. And I urge you to condemn these violations and call for accountability and justice for nature. I also note that you heard compelling evidence about violations of human rights and the rights of indigenous peoples, which go hand in hand with the violations of nature's rights. More broadly, I urge you to be mindful of the discussions going on to determine our climate future. The convention draft today, as I mentioned, ignores the causes of climate change, like fracking and megadams. It also refuses to hold people accountable for specific actions and causes, and it refuses to hold people accountable for violations of the rights of nature. Because of these fatal flaws, I put to you that the convention before you today is not only inadequate, it is illegal. It would violate adopted declarations for human rights and indigenous rights. And while the Universal Declaration of the Rights of Mother Earth is not currently adopted, the draft by the UN, certainly by the convention in Cochabamba, Bolivia, the draft climate convention already violates both the rule of law and the laws of nature. And I'll explain these 2 points. They're important. First, the rule of law means that no one is above the law. The rule of law is a way of governing ourselves as humans to create harmonious societies. In fact, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights says the rule of law is essential to the protection of human rights and peace. But as Thomas Berry has said, the universe is the primary lawgiver. We are part of the earth and part of the universe. Our laws cannot place us above the earth or any of her beings. That approach violates the rules of law and leads us away from peace and away from harmonious societies. The current climate convention being negotiated here in Paris violates the rule of law by treating the earth, our societal partner, as an afterthought. The current draft mentions the earth only once, and that is only in the preamble. So, are we treating something else as above the law? The climate convention tells us the answer to that question very directly. It mentions economics and economic systems 49 times to once for the earth. The convention's focus is not on creating law to benefit the earth. Its focus is on contorting the law to benefit the same economic system that is destroying the earth, our home. In adopting this deeply flawed focus, the convention violates the laws of nature. The nations negotiating on our behalf imagine that we can have infinite economic growth on a finite planet. This is the mythology, the economic mythology that the convention serves. This mythology pretends that the natural world is a dead resource, merely an element of commerce and trade. It seems strange that I have to stand here and say this today, but we cannot live on a dead world. Moreover, we are not fully human on a degraded world. We are less than human, and we must reject this impoverished future. We heard today from indigenous Amazon leaders that they can see what is coming if we do not raise our voices, if we do not act. Speaking and acting for the earth is also our responsibility under the Universal Declaration of the rights of Mother Earth. Indigenous leaders also called for laws to protect nature from the continued onslaught. These laws cannot be like the convention, the climate convention draft that's in discussion. As we heard this morning, we will not bargain for the destruction of Mother Earth. We must insist on laws that recognize the inherent rights of nature. Anything less must be rejected. In summary, we often hear that what we need is system change, not climate change. I put to you, ladies and gentlemen of the tribunal, that that is your responsibility. That is your primary charge, system change. Energy sources or food systems. Energy sources or food systems or a climate convention that is focused on our destructive economic system violates human rights, violates the rights of indigenous peoples, and violates the rights of nature and is illegal. These are fundamental rights. They cannot be balanced against the so-called rights of fictitious entities. It is your responsibility to seek solutions consistent with fundamental rights, and this pushes you to require system change. You must call for actions and laws that recognize the rights of the earth, and by extension, the rights of all the earth's beings, including but not limited to humans. I urge you to reject fracking and megadams, and to call for solutions that are in harmony with and respect the laws of nature. Thank you.